Shepard warned us they were coming. But we didn't listen. Now the fate of our world, of every world, rests in his hands.
We've caught up with Michael here from Bioware once again to discuss a little bit about what goes on in the first hour of Mass Effect 3. Of course, we've been waiting for Mass Effect 3 ever since we played through the second game, and we've been dying to know. But let's just take it back a notch first and say what's been going on with Shepard between the two games, and where is he or she at right now?
Well, so Shepard has been called back to Earth by the human tribunal, essentially, to answer for certain things that happened after Mass Effect 2 or during Mass Effect 2. They want to know why he did what he did. And then, just by happenstance, while he's there, certain big things happen.
And that certain big things is some of Sovereign's friends that come bearing down on Earth. But before we take it to what's going on with Cerberus and all of that, James Vega is a new character that's been introduced right at the beginning of the game. Can you tell us something about him, who he is, and what he adds to the roster of characters in Mass Effect?
So James is a down on the ground Alliance Marine, and he's seen a lot, he's hardened, he's had to make a lot of hard choices in the past, just like Shepard, and I think him and Shepard find a lot of common ground in that. You can see the dynamic between them, that they play off of each other, is quite entertaining. In terms of voice and things like that, it was recently announced that Freddie Prinze Jr. Is the voice of James. He's done an amazing job with bringing James to life and making him a really awesome character in the series.
I understand that you're looking for a more focused roster, or like a little bit fewer characters this time around. Why did you want to make that choice?
Well, we wanted to make sure that, number one, we afforded ourselves the ability to really develop those relationships a lot deeper than we ever have before. Make sure that there's a lot more options, a lot more variety in that. But at the same time, we also wanted to emphasize the fact that this game is about the war. This game is about the Reapers attacking. And because of that, it's not about recruiting squad members and that kind of story like Mass Effect 2 was. So with the change in theme and with the willingness and wantingness to develop the relationship between characters more, I think it just makes more sense.
So I would say that the start is typically of a Bioware RPG, that it's pretty streamlined. You're going in one direction, you know what you're doing. Will the game open up later on, or is it more of a sort of linear story-driven experience this time around than, say, the last game?
So after the point in which you guys have finished playing, it does open up quite considerably. You get to choose a lot more non-linearity in terms of the missions, explore the galaxy a little bit, all under, of course, the direct threat that the Reapers are attacking. But no, definitely you'll have some choice within where to go.
And we got a couple of old acquaintances that we met up during the first hour as well. Sort of how have you designed that? Because there are so many characters that you could have killed off in Mass Effect 2. Are any of those going to make appearances as well, or how do you deal with that?
Well, like most things, the decisions that you've made in Mass Effect 2 will bring into Mass Effect 3, and those choices will have consequences. With that, some of the characters who are either in Shepard's squad or throughout the galaxy could have died in Mass Effect 2, and based on that, the story will play out very differently. But, having said that, we also wanted to make sure that if you've never played Mass Effect before, you can jump into Mass Effect 3 because it's an amazing experience beginning to end. And we didn't want to assume that all new players had previous information and previous character data, so we made the experience very seamless. So depending on what your playstyle is, depending on who you are, you'll get a very different experience.
I got the feeling that you're leveling up pretty quickly in the beginning and unlocking a lot of stuff pretty fast. Is that a conscious choice you made?
The scale of the fight is much bigger in Mass Effect 3. So because of that, it takes a very powerful Shepard in order to fight the Reapers. And much to the import discussion, you can actually import your character up to level 21 from Mass Effect 2, and it maintains all of your experience points, it maintains all of your power points. So because of that, it's very critical that Shepard is very powerful.
Something that I got to play around a little bit, I played as a Sentinel, was the lift grenade.
Yes.
Luckily, I got all the way up to level 6 or something when I could unlock it. Why did you want to include grenades again, and what does it bring? Because you're doing it quite differently than you did it in the first game.
For sure. It just adds that different level of combat tactics. If you're a soldier, especially with the grenades, it just adds a different way in which you can attack these new enemies with this advanced AI. So, for example, you've seen the Cerberus Guardian who tries to flank you with the shield. A full frontal attack normally isn't the best approach for him. And biotics and powers may not be the best approach for a soldier, so we wanted to give these certain classes different ways to attack these different enemies, just depending on their playstyle.
I got the lift grenade. What kind of different grenades are there in the game?
Well, there's a fragmentation grenade, there's a lift grenade, there's a couple others, but we don't want to delve too far into the powers and the abilities right now.
Because it was pretty nice, because I didn't have any lift myself.
Right.
Of course, I had Liara's Singularity that I could use, or something like that. But, well, not Liara's, but I had Singularity on one of the team. Yeah. So, but it allowed me to sort of use that same tactic that I wouldn't otherwise been able to do.
Yeah, so we definitely, and that was part of the design there. We wanted to make sure that all the different classes have the abilities at their disposal to take on certain enemies if they choose, right? If that's the type of warrior that you wanted to make. Of course, you're sacrificing another power in its place, right?
And that takes us to what I'm most interested about, because I got to see a little bit of the threads from the third novel come together when you discovered that first Cerberus soldier and saw what was underneath his helmet. What kind of role does Cerberus play in this game, and are there, or is that something that we'll have to discover later on?
Most of it you'll have to discover, but what I can say is this, is that the Elusive Man, he's always been a man who's guided by his own ambitions. Now, whether those ambitions be aligned against Shepard or with Shepard is one thing, but Cerberus has its own agenda, and Cerberus will do whatever it thinks it has to do to protect that agenda.
And I think the key question is, what is that agenda?
Who knows? I mean, if you look back to Mass Effect 2, Cerberus made their dealings quite clear. That may have changed a little bit, but I think they're fairly significant and a force to be reckoned with in Mass 3.
We need a plan to stop them.
We fight or we die. That's the point.